Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. We are Millennial Mom. If you don't know who is who, I'm Millennial. This is Mom.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Mom or Kay from Millennial Mom. Now before I begin, please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't already joined our family, leave your comments, share the video, and if you're interested, we have a membership and that link is in the description box below. All right, so let's get started. So on tonight's episode, it is called Honeymoon Hiccups. Now, why do the experts need to remind us that couples are married and they're grown, and if sparks fly, it's their call whether they consummate their marriage or not? I mean, they really have to tell us this every season. We know that already, and honestly, it's none of our business. So let's start with Shaquille and Kirsten. Now, when they get in their room, they're talking about what they're looking forward to for the future and how they think things are gonna go. They both seem like they're excited for what's to come. I see a little bit more excitement with Shaquille versus Kirsten. When Kirsten says, you know what, can you help me get out this dress? And Shaquille said, well, can I get a kiss? And there was that awkward, the answer was no, there was no kiss. And I would have thought he would have figured out by now that that's not what she wants to do. Now in confessional, Shaquille says that, he respects boundaries. Now we heard that at the wedding and the reception, but you're still asking her, it's still the same day, it's just in the evening time. I mean, how many hours have passed? Like 4? But anyways, in confessionals, Kirsten says that she doesn't want to have a kiss and have it seem like she's being open, because kissing for her is vulnerable and she wants to give the right perception of herself and who she is, and she wants to get to know him as a person before they have sex, have a kiss, or just do anything that's intimate. So, and now we move to Dominique and McKinley. She's asking McKinley if he snores. He says no. And here's my thing with that. If anyone has ever asked, do you snore? I mean, how are you supposed to know? You're asleep, right? So I guess unless someone tells you snore, that's the only way you would know that you snore. But I think that everyone snores to a point. I think there's just different levels to that, because we all know someone who's snores super loud and someone who, you barely hear at all. When she asked him, he said no. When he asked her, she said no. She's like, well, how do you know? How do you know, right? So anyways, one of the things that I pulled out of their conversation was McKinley asked Dominique if she can cook. And she goes, yeah, I can cook a little bit. She goes, I can cook baked ziti. I could do fish. And McKinley said, oh, so you could fry fish from the fish that you caught? So I think a little bit he was being sarcastic, throwing shade. Well, that's what I took from it, because, in the vows and what he learned from her family, that she's a tomboy. So she likes to get down and dirty, in the mud, doing things like that. But at, evening time, she knows how to be a lady. And Dominique said, yeah, the fish that I caught, matter of fact, I have a deep freezer full of catfish. And then McKinley sits back and goes, catfish? I don't think I've ever had any of that. So see there, that's what you get for trying to check somebody. Moving to Jasmine and Eris. Eris says that he feels that everything that's led up to the moment has been worth it. He said he feels so much better, and this is a day to remember. Even Jasmine said that she felt better, and it's a day for her to remember too. Jasmine said that she's attracted to her husband and she's ready to lay down and be with her husband. She is open to the idea of, whatever goes, goes. But then we see Eris, he says, you know what, listen, I hope my wife is tired. It's been a long day, but, if she wants to do something, I'm not gonna complain, and I'll just muster up the energy to do it. So he's hoping that Jasmine is ready to go to bed. And then we move to Gina and Clint. Clint and Gina, he carries her over the threshold. They seem to have a vibe for right now. I also see a small spark with Eris and Jasmine too. But Clint and Gina are talking about where they see their futures. And then Gina goes, into saying how, she feels that, because she's a leader, she has her business, that it's going to be a lot for her to just slow down. And she's telling herself to do that. She even said that she even left her cell phone at home so she wouldn't be distracted by the business aspect of what's going on. And then Clint says he likes Gina. He feels there's a spark with her. But in confessionals, Clint says this was the best case scenario, because if things hadn't worked out maybe the way he wanted to, he don't know what would happen. I'm thinking, yeah, worked out to what? Like the type of woman that you're looking for, or what's to work out here? Gina is excited to go to bed with her husband. She says she's looking forward to whatever happens. And of course, Clint is in the bed. He is with his shirt off and he's ready for whatever happens too. He says Gina is sexy, so if she says it goes, it goes. And Clint, I just remember him saying from the bachelor party, or whenever he mentioned it with his friends or whoever, that he had to tell us about his 65 partners. So yeah. Now, the next morning, the couples are going to meet the families individually to get them know them a little bit better. And they're also going to find out where they're going on the honeymoon. Now, before they head out, there's a few quick scenes with the couples having breakfast and reminiscing about the night they had and just how are they feeling this morning. You know what? I jumped the gun just a little bit about McKinley and Dominique. That's when she told him the next morning that she cooked salmon, baked ziti and fish and things like that. So that's what they talked about the next morning instead of the night of the wedding. I got that confused. It's okay. It's in the beginning. I'll get it right next time. And then you have Christopher and Nicole. They're bonding about not having their dogs with them and having dog hair all around while they're eating breakfast, and let's just enjoy this. And in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, so you are saying there's lots of dog hair in the bed and everything, but you just learn to deal with it? Then stop having the dogs in the bed then. That's just a perception of mine, but do whatever works for you. And then Nicole, she also gets emotional, but I think Nicole is the emotional one on the show this season. And then Nicole in confessional says that she's never had anyone treat her the way that Chris is treating her, that he's listening to her and she feels like she can open up to him, and she's getting very emotional about it. And then Nicole says, but we're not in love yet. Now, when she said that, that automatically reminded me of Bao on her season when she was saying that on her honeymoon with Johnny, asking was he in love yet? And also to Lindsay on her season with Mark the Shark. So that gives me I'm moving too fast vibes, and I think I'm in love because someone's showing me attention. That's also going to be something to watch to see how that works out as the show goes on. So let's move to the meeting of the friends and the family. So let's start with Kirsten and Shaquille. Kirsten meets his Shaq's friend and his uncle. She says last night they had good conversations and they talked about Shaquille and having time for Kirsten. Kirsten feels that Shaquille is so busy that, and she don't mind that he's busy. She understands he's, getting his furthering his education and just the things he's got going on the side, that she wants to encourage him to do that, but she doesn't want to encourage him so much to the point where he's taking that for granted and, he's not reciprocating the same for her. And the family understood what she was saying, but at the same time was trying to let her know that he will know where to pull back and when to give this support as well, so she didn't have anything to worry about. So when Shaquille meets her friend and her sister, they say that Kirsten is very intentional what she wants, and they ask Shaquille if he's ready for the process. Is he willing to be settled in and, be the husband that Kirsten needs? And so Shaq says that he is, and he asks God to help him find a wife and to be on this journey, and he feels that everything has fallen in place. Now, her friends they're listening to what he's saying, but they are like skeptical, because they say, so what happens if this don't work out for you? What happens if you can't respond to Kirsten's needs? Shaquille says that bond will grow stronger as they get to know each other, and he is determined to be there for her as her husband. But one of her friends say that Kirsten is slow to respond to reciprocating like hugs and kisses and things like that. So, but once you get to know her, she will blossom like a flower, and they tell him to be patient with her. So moving to McKinley and Dominique, almost as soon as he sits down and says, "Oh, how's everybody doing?" Dominique's mom says, "We're doing good, but you know what? We want to know more about you." And I'm thinking when she said that, and it does come up in conversation, that she's still thinking about the night before and how he didn't necessarily answer the question about how his family would feel about Dominique, because Dominique is mixed race, and how's that going to work out with his family. And then Dominique's grandma says, "Well, why is it that you haven't been engaged before? Or what's it going to take for you to be engaged?" Something like that, she said. She goes, "There are so many women out here looking to be a wife. So, like, what is the issue with you?" And then McKinley said, well, when he was in his 20s, he was a rambler, like he was just doing whatever. He wasn't ready to settle down. But now that he's in his 30s, he is. So, and then they asked him, well, have you ever dated outside your race? He said he's dated white women or Caucasian women and Latino women, and he hasn't had any luck. They wonder if his family will be okay with him marrying Dominique, and if they will be okay with it for a lifetime. And so when Dominique meets his mom, his sister, and his friend, Dominique comes in, she's like, "Hey, how's everybody doing?" And then Dominique says last night, in confessional, she says last night his mom was not here for her. She didn't really, get the vibe about the conversation. But then she says, well, no one really wants their child to marry a stranger. And I'm like, your mom did, because that's why you're on the show. McKinley's mom says, so what did you think about him? How'd you get to know him? And Dominique says, everything went fine. She goes, I thought you all said he was shy. I didn't see he was shy. He was talking with me. Dominique also says that he exceeds all her expectations for now. So then, I think it was his sister said, so why would you marry a stranger? And Dominique says, well, my mom watches the show, and she said she thought it would be good for me to broaden my horizons, and I'm settled in where I am now. So she feels like I'm ready to go to the next step in my life. And still, I have a small concern about that, because again, she's saying that her mom signed her up, which she did. So if Dominique, did she want to go on the show, or is she doing the show for her mom? Kelly's mom just came out and said, you know what, I just think this is nuts. It's crazy. And then crickets, everything got silent. They were like, everyone was looking at their food, like, let's move on for this conversation. And then the mom says, or the sister, one of them say, so we're from Michigan, and what would happen if McKinley wants to move back to Michigan? Like, would you come with them, or would you relocate? Like, what are your thoughts on that? And Dominique says, well, that would be tough on me, because my mom lives, that would be like an hour and a half away, and I'm just really not sure. And just the look they were giving Dominique in general, I feel just by the conversation at the brunch, it's going to be a long season for Dominique and McKinley. So let's move to Clint and Gina. So Clint's friends are meeting with Gina. Clint's friends are Clint's friends. I call them, or they give me the vibe of the middle-aged guy crew, or the middle-aged sailing crew. Because sometimes you know him by the company you keep, and Clint gives me that he's known by the company he keeps. Well, anyways, the friends say, so how was it last night? And now that you saw Clint with his coat off, are you attracted to him? And Gina says she's attracted to his personality. Everything seemed to be clicking fine. But, he's not normally the type of guy she would normally date. He's got the ginger or red hair. She likes a tall, dark, and handsome. Now, when she was saying that, I don't think that she thought she was saying what she was saying. Yes, she was being honest, but at the same time, she was saying that she wasn't really attracted to Clint because the color of his hair. You know what? You do have to look inside first before the outside. Outside is appearance too, but on this show, yeah, you have to put more things in factor. And then when Clint met Gina's friends, her friends were very welcoming to him. They asked him the general questions. Clint said he was comfortable. He said that he could see themselves together. I think the friends threw out the business aspect of things, like, Gina's always busy. How is this going to mesh with your life? Because Clint's busy too. He let them know that he also has his own thing going on, and that they're going to have to sit down and figure out what it is that they want and come to a common ground, so they'll, have enough time to spend with each other. Now, in confessional, Gina's male friend says, oh, I think they're getting along well. I can see this, happening for her. But Gina's female friend says, red flag, red flag. They're going to have to blend their schedule. And what I see is they are too similar, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out. And then when we have Chris and Nicole, let me just say, I'm just going to Nicole's dad. Nicole's dad is not giving Chris no slack, no nothing. Nicole's dad is telling Chris, this is all well and fine. It's just a repeat of the reception. This is all well and fine. But what are you bringing to the table? I'm here to protect my daughter too. I know you're married to her, but what do you have to offer? In confessional, Nicole's dad was like, serial killers are nice at first. I'm not saying he's a serial killer, but you never know. And so then he asked Chris, are you really committed to this process? And Chris says, yeah, I'm committed, and, gives his reasons why. Nicole's dad was like, look, talk is cheap. I mean, everything that Chris was saying, shutting it down. But he was shutting it down with real reality questions like, what are you going to do? Are you going to man up? Talk is cheap. Is put up or shut up? And Nicole's mom asked a question. I forgot. I think she said something like, are you really here for this marriage? That's what set Nicole's dad off. Chris needs to make sure he's correct, because he's in the hot seat, and he don't want Nicole's dad knocking on the door for any reason. Now, when it's Nicole's turn to meet his parents, things go very much different. They are much more calm. They're welcoming. His mom tells Nicole that Chris has a nurturing heart, and that he will cook for her. He will share his feelings with her. He will just open up everything. And then one of Chris's friends said to Nicole that Chris has been hurt in a previous relationship, so he tends to be all in, and they just really don't want him hurt, and just to be careful. And Nicole says that she doesn't want that to happen either, and she's going to be here for Chris no matter what. And so when the dad said that Chris was consumed in his relationships and just to be more careful, how do you feel about that? Nicole said, well, she will foster his independence. She was saying that she doesn't want to be up under Chris all the time, because she likes to be social and do her own things. So, she'll work with him to become a little bit more independent so they could work together as a team. So now let's move to Eris and Jasmine. Eris meets with Jasmine's mom, dad, and brother. Eris asks if Jasmine is organized or unorganized, or is it organized chaos? The dad says it depends on what it is. And I think that's the case for most people. Depends on what it is, what you got going on. Eris tells them he's an only child and the background of what he's got going on. Jasmine's mom says in marriage, things aren't always going to be peaches and cream. And, the first year is getting to know each other. So expect some up and downs. And Jasmine's dad says, at this point, Eris, I'm counting on you. And Jasmine is counting on you. So the dad was saying, take care of my daughter. I'm counting on you. See, Jasmine's dad had a different way of saying it versus Nicole's dad, but still, it was the same exact meaning. Now, when Jasmine meets his mom and his cousins, why is his cousin Fallon always mean mugging Jasmine? I mean, that's all you see, like, It don't matter what Jasmine's gonna say. Fallon, for right now, don't care. Because Fallon feels that Jasmine is just giving the pageant girl answer. She always has an answer on deck, and always the answer is right. So producers asked Fallon, what does she think about Eris's wife? And Fallon's like, his wife? That's hilarious to me. I mean, it came off like Lifetime movie series, like how she was acting. But at the table, Jasmine says that where she's at in her life, she's grounded, and what's missing in her life right now is a partner and a family, someone that she could come home to, a wife and a mother. The family asked how she's ever lived with anyone before. Jasmine said that she did previously, and the last time was 7 months ago. Now see, being on the show, I've said it before in many reviews, that in my opinion, it should be at least be a year in between relationships, but Jasmine said it's been 7 months, and she says, but you know, we're broken up now, and that's in the past. She says, when you break up with someone, usually before you break up, you're already feeling like you're going to, so she don't carry any baggage with that. So I don't know if the family believe that. I just think that, again, whatever Jasmine says, especially for Fallon, and depends on how much pull Fallon has in the family, yeah, they don't necessarily believe that either. Now, after the couples met with each other's families, they come back together in the evening to talk about how things went. Now, there was two conversations that stood out to me. One was Shaquille and Jasmine. Both were talking about things went good, but then it turned to how Shaquille felt that internally he was fighting silent battles, because he says that everyone always thinks he's good and he's not. Like sometimes he doesn't feel good. And Kirsten said that she also goes through the same thing, and they vowed to hold each other accountable and hold each other up when they are going through those things, so they don't have to go through it alone. And then Jasmine and Eris, so the conversation when Jasmine saw Eris, she's like, look, I don't know what's going on, but your family is definitely here to protect you, and there's nothing I can say about Fallon. She will always defend you, and just telling him like she just can't get past that bump in the road with his cousin. And so in confessional, Eris says that Fallon has always been that way. She's always wore her heart on her sleeve, but hopefully as time goes on, Jasmine and the family will gel. And then Eris is telling Jasmine that he feels like his mom and his family and her mom and dad and her family can all get together. He could see them connecting also as time goes on. So now the couples are finding out where they're going on their honeymoons. They're headed to Jamaica. Now, why did Gina, when they get the box at the door about where they're going and all the different little stuff in there, why did Gina say with the flags in the basket, she goes, oh, what is this, for the Bahamas? Girl, didn't they just tell you it was Jamaica? Come on, Gina. And then when we see Nicole, she's saying how she hopes that her and Chris consummate the marriage while they're on their honeymoon, because she's feeling the spark, and I think Chris is with it too. And then when we see Shaquille and Kirsten, they have their hats on, they got the stuff coming out the basket. Why'd he say that, I'm sorry, but we're not gonna be going to Jamaica for our honeymoon. I got a research project that's due, and I gotta go to Jackson, Mississippi. So we won't be going with the couples. And she said, what? Are you serious? Now, Shaquille, listen, I understand that you're working on your doctorate. You have, things to do as part of that to get that completed and everything. But didn't you think that maybe you should let Kirsten know that, like after you got married or during the reception, like when you get to know each other, that you have this paperwork or this class you got to do first, and y'all might be delayed, like you can go ahead and do the honeymoon, I'll meet you there kind of thing? This is definitely a Mav's first. So now it's the next day. The couples meet in the lobby before they head to the airport. They already know that Shaquille and Kirsten will fly in later. So when they get to Jamaica, we see the couples looking around the rooms. The rooms look nice. The rooms look very, very nice. There's a conversation that stands out during the honeymoon to start, and that is Chris and Nicole. Chris and Nicole they get on a topic of past relationships and how toxic those past relationships are. Nicole goes in a conversation about a past boyfriend who said that in order for her to say and prove that she loved him, he would burn her with a cigarette. And she gets emotional saying how, she didn't feel like she didn't know how to love, or just didn't know how to communicate love, or felt worthy of love as she got older. And so I feel that And in my opinion, I think this is a reason why she's so committed and emotional to this process, and feels how Chris is already doing things for her and making her feel special and comforted. Chris was saying it feels good to have somebody to be so upfront about their past relationships and to talk about it and the things that they went through, and that he says that they're both extremely committed. In confessionals, Chris says that he's got a message for her exes. He said it's their loss, his gain, and feels like he's known her not just for 3 days, but feels like 3 years. And that's what it is. We'll see if this couple lasts through the whole marriage and say yes on decision day. I do feel like, you know, they're bringing a lot to the table up front right now. I don't know. We've seen a lot too soon from other couples that didn't necessarily make it, but I'm not saying that they won't, because I don't know. And if you've heard of any spoilers, please don't drop them in the comments. We just like to watch the show the way it's gonna turn out. So, well, that was the end of the episode. It wasn't a full 2 hours. It cut off after an hour and a half, which is fine with me. And hopefully next week, Shaquille and Kirsten have made it out to Jamaica. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, join the family. Leave your comments and share the video. And until next time, live simply, be grateful.